So, Sony's universe problem. Honestly, look, I'm not going to pretend to be some kind of like screenwriter. I'm not going to pretend to know the logistics of everything, but here's the thing. From what I know, Sony has no idea how to make a Sony villain verse work, and I can easily tell why without having any history in filmmaking, without having any history in logistics and legal teams. The problem is this: they're not villains. They have no connection to Spider-Man. They have no grudge against Spider-Man. Venom was a fluke because, for one, everyone knows who Venom is. And of course, I'm not a fan of how they decided to go about Venom, i.e. the humor is a little bit too much. I understand that Venom is goofy in the comic, but he's still Venom at the end of the day. But Venom doesn't have that connection to Spider-Man. And I feel as though that is the issue. And every time they try to force a connection with Spider-Man, it doesn't work because they're too busy trying to ride the hype train of Tom Holland. You know what I'm saying? Instead of sticking with what they already had and what they broke, instead of just trying to fix it, instead they just want to, tag team with Kevin Feige instead of just doing their own thing. And it's interesting because Sony has the rights to Spider-Man, at least film-wise. You can do whatever you want. You can have 50 different Spider-Man in different universes. You can do whatever you want with the character because they belong to you. Literally. And here's my thing when it comes to this whole Sony and Marvel, everything around that. Take Morbius, for example. Now, why I love the movie solely because I'm an edgelord and I like vampire movies and vampires, Marvel mixing together. That's my favorite thing. But I understand the flaws that everyone's having with the movie. Hell, even I noted that in my review of Morbius. By the way, you should go check that out. Link in the description. So I understand the complaints. And more importantly, the main problem with Sony as a whole. They're not using the character who they have the rights to, the character everyone wants to see go against these characters. We don't want to see Venom go up against different flavors of Venom. We don't want to see Morbius go against different flavors of Morbius. We want Spider-Man going against his rogues gallery. Like, literally, that's the whole point of making Spider-Man movies. Hell, Sony even knows this. That's why they lied to you in the marketing for Morbius. Literally, that's why. With Venom, they didn't have to do that because, again, we all like Venom. We like the dark, edgy Spider-Man. We like seeing this version of Venom. We like Venom in general. But with Morbius, he's not exactly a fan favorite. He's a little bit more obscure. He's honestly, I would say he's about the same obscurity as Moon Knight. That's neither here nor there. My problem comes when Sony tries to force things that don't make sense. Think about the Spider-Man in the MCU and how they handled J. Jonah Jameson. Different J. Jonah Jameson, different dimension, makes sense. They could have did that with the Vulture. Instead, they decided to, of course, again, ride the coattails of the famous Spider-Man movie that made over $1 billion. So, you see where the problem lies. They're not confident in their own projects. They don't put as much time and effort into developing these characters. They just want to push out Spider-Man properties as soon as possible. And I'm just like, if you want to get these things to be successful, take time to develop the story. Take time to care about what you're doing. And more importantly, remember, these are Spider-Man villains. Okay? If you want to have your anti-heroes, that's fine. But that means they can't go against Spider-Man because their freaking motives are not going to be aligned. Literally. That's literally the issue here. That's why people are so irritated with the whole Morbius post-credit scene, because it doesn't make any sense, especially when it comes to the plot of Morbius as a movie. You know what I'm saying? The entirety of the movie, Morbius is literally a good, upstanding guy just trying to help people and cure his own freaking rare condition. So him saying intriguing to going up against Spider-Man, a known hero, it makes no sense. It fundamentally makes zero sense for this to happen. Seriously. And again, all they had to do with the Vulture was just make him a different version of the Vulture. You can make an excuse for him to have the fucking Vulture suit. After all, there was a Rhino suit and there was no Stark Tech there. So fans, stop crying about the freaking Vulture suit. I just want to say that now. Stop crying. Oh my god, he needed Stark Tech to make the freaking suit. May I point to you the giant rhinoceros carcass in the room. Anyway, I just had to get that out of my system because I've been seeing people go off about that for the longest now. Like ever since this Morbius movie came out. Stop crying. Anyway, back into the point of this video. Like there's so many ways Sony can fix this, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you can have Morbius. You can still do something with that. And I feel like Jared Leto really did good with the role of Morbius. They could have played off of the tragedy of Morbius, you know? Honestly, it's just irritating. I'm gonna go into a deeper video on Morbius again, but I just wanted to get that out of my system. So here's how you can fix this entire mess of a studio, this entire mess of a quote-unquote franchise of villains. Here's the thing. Find a Spider-Man, stick to it, and just build off of that. Because you have your own Sonyverse. You have Venom, you have Morbius. Because apparently they're in the same universe. Obviously, they've made that very clear that they're in the same universe, and I'm okay with that. I like that actually. We're building something there. So when you inevitably bring Andrew Garfield back, let's face it, he's coming back. You know, like they're not gonna miss this opportunity. So when you do this, please be true to his character and his writing, and more importantly, have some faith in your project. Have some faith in your Spider-Man. You don't need to resort to gimmicks. You don't need to resort to making every single movie villain or quote unquote movie villain you make. You don't need to resort to making them anti-heroes. They can be villains. Like they can do that. And if you want to slowly develop them down the line, you can do that as well. But again, they need to not fight the clones of themselves. Have Spider-Man, have Andrew Garfield Spider-Man go against these characters, or just have some Spider-Man concrete in this universe. It's like a Henry Cavill Superman situation all over again. Y'all can't decide on who is Spider-Man when you can have all of them at once. You have a multiverse now. You can have multiversal Spider-Man and we would not be confused. Sony, your fans are not idiots. And I hate how companies and franchises, even Marvel and DC, are freaking guilty of this. They treat their fans like they're idiots. Like they treat us like we can't comprehend multiple freaking versions of one character. When again, No Way Home is the proper way, and it's evidence that fans are not stupid. Like, you can entertain us with multiple Spider-Man and we'll be okay with that. We have Miles, we have Toby, we have freaking Andrew, we have Tom. We have so many Spider-Man you can use at once. You can use them all and I promise you, you will make money. Dude, Spider-Man is strong enough as a property by himself. That is the only reason why Sony is even still afloat. Just having characters associated with Spider-Man is gonna make some form of money. You know what I'm saying? Just tell these stories and just don't worry about interconnected universes, at least until the very end of the movie. For f***'s sake, just tell a story. Have faith in your story and don't be afraid to put Spider-Man in these movies. Because the very point of making these movies, we're gonna want to see them go against Spider-Man. Every single character you have used has gone up against Spider-Man in their debut. And you're not using that. Instead, it's always about theatrics. It's about, oh my God, ooh, look, let's tease something. Just do it. Don't tease it, just do it. Because you don't know what's gonna happen to these actors. They might, have an unfortunate event like one of the actors in Moon Knight passed away in a skiing accident. You don't have time to do this. You're not the MCU, Sony. And you don't have to be the MCU. You can do your own thing. And I promise you, your fans will be there. You can be your own thing without having to ride the coattails of the MCU. You don't need them. You genuinely do not. Before the MCU even kicked off, you had Tobey Maguire carrying your company. You don't need them. Because honestly, it's just pissing me off how y'all don't have faith in your own project. And look, Venom is a perfect example of this. He is so disconnected from Spider-Man, he don't even got the damn Spider logo. For fuck's sake, give him the tarantula. Jesus! Like, it's so indicative of what Sony is now. It's a hollow representation of what it should be, And I don't think there's any way around it. And honestly, Sony is not listening to fans. They're not doing that. The MCU is always open to picking up what the fans are putting down. But Sony, they don't care. They want to do their own thing the way they want to. F*** all who's involved.